Hi, I'm Nathan Jones. Today on Dead Downwind's Wild Extremes, all of you are going with me to South Dakota. We're in hot pursuit of the pronghorn antelope. If you're one of those people that have never challenged pronghorn antelope with archery equipment, it boils down to this, a test of wills. Basically, how much discomfort will you put up with? To be successful on these goats means putting in some long days, long 15-hour days in a double bull looking at a water hole. But let me tell you this, when you get a good one down, all of the sacrifices and discomforts are definitely worth it. For those of you that have never hunted goats, I hope today's show inspires you to try to take another species with your archery equipment. And for those of you that are just die-hard goat hunters, I hope today's show lets you see the hunt with new eyes. I'm certainly glad you're all along with us today. This is Dead Downwind's Wild Extremes. Dead Downwind's Wild Extremes is being brought to you by Dead Downwind. At Dead Downwind, 99% just isn't good enough. Martin Archery, making the most accurate bows for over 50 years. Double Bull Archery, home of the Dark Archer. Tight Point Broadheads, hunt with the best. And Huntress, scent prevention formulated for the female hunter. And also by these other great companies, Kicking Bear One-on-One, Mossback Game Calls, Copper John, Doinker Stabilizers, Lone Wolf Tree Stands, Women Hunters, and Chateau Berdy.
Awesome! That is Wild Extreme. Yes!
This segment of Dead Downwind's Wild Extremes is being brought to you by Dead Downwind. At Dead Downwind, 99% just isn't good enough.
Something I do, something we do here at Wild Extremes is try our best to control our scent, because that is going to give you the edge on all these animals. Now, when you're hunting antelope, they don't typically use their noses. They rely on their eyes. That's their defense, their eyes and their speed. But you've got to consider all these other animals that are coming into these holes. And in this area, we've got mule deer and whitetail that come in and hit these holes. And if you've got a big goat watching one of these holes at a distance and he sees deer blow out of here, he's not coming in. So we use our Dead Downwind to control our scent so that deer can come in, drink, and leave unalarmed, thus allowing the antelope to feel comfortable and come on in. I'm ready to slam one.
I had barely finished spraying down with my Dead Downwind when the cavalcade of deer started. In the semi-arid climate of the West, a water hole is nature's community center for all species of mammals, birds, and reptiles. To survive, all animals need water. And this is one weakness predators, including myself, have capitalized on when hunting. So as time progressed, animals learned that in order to drink, they were exposing themselves to danger. Over eons of generations, an instinctual defense mechanism developed, putting all wildlife on red alert when they go to water. So to be successful, you can't risk spooking even the animals that aren't your intended prey. When you hunt water holes, you have to be on your game. With the double bull making us invisible to their eyes and the dead downwind hiding us from their olfactories, I was confident that on this hunt we would have a chance to slam a good goat. While antelope seemingly will water at all times of the day, most of the deer activity will take place at first and last light. And at this time you definitely want to be cruising under the radar of the deer's nose. If you pay attention, you will see animals of different species relying on each other to spot danger. When one animal goes on point, all other animals in the immediate vicinity will also stop and start using all of their natural defenses to locate danger. And if you're identified as a danger, the game is then over, and all of your hard work is for naught. So preventing your odor has got to be your #1 priority. Even though we weren't hunting deer, I treated them like they were the intended prey. I knew if we weren't spooking deer, we wouldn't be spooking antelope. In most places where you hunt goats, you will find mule deer. The mule deer are an animal designed to inhabit arid climates. While mule deer in mountainous regions exist during the summer months at elevations in excess of 10,000 feet, they also inhabit the deserts of North America. The mule deer derives its name compliments of the early pioneers, who played a huge part in settling early America. When they drove their covered wagons west across the prairies and first saw the gray-colored deer standing with their oversized ears held erect as they gazed with curiosity at the slowly moving wagons, the name came easily. The mule deer rut occurs roughly the same time that the whitetail rut kicks in, with the average gestation time of the does around 210 days. The older does will usually drop twin fawns, and like the whitetail, will keep them separated for a few weeks after the fawns arrive, which is nature's way to reduce predation by predators. If the doe kept the fawns in the same proximity and they were discovered, both of them would be killed. By keeping them separate, if one is taken, the doe will still have one to carry on her genetics. While the does are in the process of raising the next generation, the bucks are busy growing the antlers that during the rut will help them establish dominance, which with it comes the breeding rights. By midsummer, the antlers are about halfway to maturity, and during the last portion of antler growth, as the deer frantically search out the most nutritious plants to help put on the weight that will sustain them through the rigors of the upcoming rut, they also simultaneously start molting out of their reddish summer coats, transforming them into the trophy animals so many hunters have come to appreciate. I know this morning I was appreciating the close encounters with the bachelor herd of mule deer bucks. How often do you get an encounter like this at just 20 yards? Obviously, we had passed the smell test, and all I could hope for was a chance at a great big goat. But on this hunt, I was yet to learn that there are freak encounters that will inhibit you from reaching your goals. Dead Downwind's Wild Extremes will return in a moment. This segment of Dead Downwind's Wild Extremes is being brought to you by Martin Archery, making the most accurate bows for over 50 years, and by Double Bull Archery, home of the Dark Archer.
Well, we've got bucks in front of us already, and anytime we've hunted this hole, you see bucks on the skyline. They end up right here. But we have got a lot of area. This is big country, and we've got a lot of area to pull from. And this year there's not a lot of water. So it's... I'd say more than likely I get a better look at the bigger buck, but I believe he is going to get a pass. He comes down here, but anticipate a great encounter. This is cool.
It started to seem like on this hunt that the mule deer were far outnumbering the antelope. Just like the day before, it was mule deer, not pronghorn antelope, that were the first to show up at the water hole. And then, out of the grass strolled the object of the buck's curiosity, a trio of sage grouse, who, like the deer, were intent on using the water hole before the day warmed up. The grouse's morning drink was suddenly interrupted by a badger, sporting the all-familiar racing stripe right down the center of his forehead, who was also on his way in to rehydrate himself after a long, hot night of digging through the sun-baked concrete-like soil in search of food. I truly felt blessed to have a front row seat of the best nature had to offer that morning. Little did I know that the next animal into the water hole would be the reason I came up dry on this hunt.
Well, I can't tell you guys. Well, you guys have seen it. What a morning. And I'm a self-admitted nature junkie, and this was a morning like I can never remember. That mule deer, antelope, grouse, badger. And we've been in the blind 2.5 hours is all, and it seems like we've been here 10 minutes. I mean, something has just been everywhere. And we have still got goats. I can see goats everywhere I look in this big pasture. And we have not had one antelope buck in on us yet. And that's about to happen.
Who would have dreamed that an innocent-looking jackrabbit would be the demise of my best-laid plans?
There's a buck right there. There's a buck.
After tens of hours in the blind, we finally had a buck rolling in. And what a buck! This guy was a stroker. As the buck walked toward the double bull, I was confident I would get a shot. But due to my hunting experience, I never count him down until I blitz him with a tight point. Because if it can go wrong, it usually will. The rabbit, hearing unseen approaching footsteps, broke out from underneath the sage where he was hiding, spooking the buck. Remember what I said earlier about animals coming into water? The buck was already on alert because water is usually a place for danger, and once the rabbit startled him, he never settled back down. I have to admit that I was heartsick when the buck trotted away. Even though we had beaten the buck's nose and eyes, in the end, a rabbit beat me. Don't go anywhere. There's more where this came from. This segment of Dead Downwind's Wild Extremes is being brought to you by Tight Point Broadheads, now you're hunting with the best, and by Huntress, scent prevention formulated for the female hunter. The next morning, we were back in the double bull. Only this time, my cameraman Matt Owen would be in front of the camera. I hoped that the change would bring some luck our way, namely, no more surprise rabbits to dictate the final outcome of the hunt. Our luck was already on the mend. Instead of being overrun with mule deer, the first animal to show up belonged to the species that we had been patiently waiting for. Now, all that Matt needed was something sporting some horns, and then it would be time to pick up his marten bow. As the day warmed up, so did the activity on our water hole. I always tell myself that every hour spent is one more hour closer to slamming a good one. The day slowly warmed, burning the fog off, and Matt hoped the increasing heat would inspire the goats to head our way. And then it happened.
Here's some antelope. There's a big group. I don't know. Oh, there's a buck. That's a good buck. He's tall. That's a good buck.
This great buck followed the thirsty does right into the water hole, which also happened to be right into striking distance for Matt. Matt was about to get a crack at his first ever antelope.
Man, that was awesome. That happened so fast. We're sitting here talking, and we had a big group of goats come in right beside us. They came in, they're not 30 yards beside us here. There must have been, I don't know, probably 10 does, and then this buck came in following them. They came down to the water. I don't know, I didn't know what they were going to do, so I went ahead and took a shot at him. He's about 40-45 yards. Looked like I center punched him. He was just squirting blood the whole way away. So he's got to be just on the other side of that hill there. It's my first goat hunt, first morning. It was a blast. Let's go look at him.
He's down.
Go ahead and put the quiver on here. Take my arrows with me, but that buck went around the corner there. He was struggling pretty hard, so he should be just right there. But I'm gonna go look at my arrow first, and I'm sure we're gonna have a good sign on it. Try to find us a bloody carbon tech. Oh yeah, that's what we were wanting to see. That's beautiful. Oh yeah, I can see his belly from here. He's 100 yards. Oh yeah. What a goat. A little busted here. Let me take a look at him. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's nice. This is my first goat. They say you want cutters above the ears, and they're a couple inches above the ears. The ivory tip over here broke it off just a little bit on this side, but just a great buck, especially for my first buck.
Hey, thanks for going hunting with us today here at Dead Downwind's Wild Extremes. I hope today's show went a long way to help everybody out there understand that the success of the hunt shouldn't just be measured in the kill, but rather the entire experience. I know that for me personally, some of the greatest enjoyments for me out of a hunt, out of any hunt that I do, are the one-of-a-kind encounters that I get from our greatest renewable resource. And that renewable resource, my friends, is nature. Remember, hunters are the protectors of wildlife everywhere. I'll see all of you right here next time, where the slammin' will definitely continue. Dead Downwind's Wild Extremes has been brought to you by Dead Downwind. At Dead Downwind, 99% just isn't good enough. Martin Archery, making the most accurate bows for over 50 years. Double Bull Archery, home of the Dark Archer. Tight Point Broadheads, hunt with the best. And Huntress, scent prevention formulated for the female hunter. and also by these other great companies: Kicking Bear One-on-One, Mossback Game Calls, Copper John, Doinker Stabilizers, Lone Wolf Tree Stands, Women Hunters, and Chateau Berden.
Man, he got us a monster.
This has been a Wild Serenade production.